Good afternoon, everyone. I go by the name Shota Diolusegun. Well, this is going to be a live uh, video, and what I'll be doing in this live channel would be, to introduce you to novel scientific research, novel scientific discoveries, and all that. So, I will go, deep into, some fact about science, physics, and things like that. So this channel is going to be so educative, and so it's going to be so, you know, insightful. So now I before I share with you what I want to discuss today, I just want to briefly introduce you to something I called formula of everything. Well, basically, I'm a researcher, so OCP, which is Oracle Certified Professional, then Microsoft Certified Technology Specialist. So now I have research on unification of quantum mechanics to classical mechanics. So I have publication in ijser.org. When you go to my YouTube channel, you will definitely see, links to my research publication. So I have it on peer-reviewed journal. So that is that about me, though I still need to, say more about myself. So basically, the publications, I have two publications. So the first one is the time theory of the universe. There I have derivation of formula of everything. Now that formula of everything is what I use in that theory to unify quantum mechanics to classical mechanics. And then I have time energy wave model. So that is more or less like a visual representation of the happenings in the universe. So that models the entitle of the universe. So from the time energy wave model, we're able to, get the hierarchical structure of the universe in form of interlocked dimensions. So there are so many things to discuss in this channel. So many things to discuss, and then I will even go into the 369 of Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla said that if we're to get the reality of the universe, we should think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So now energy, frequency, vibration, they are more or less like, the same thing. Basically, frequency, vibration, and things like that. But in a book I published on Amazon, I said we should think in terms of worth, which is, the worth of the universe in terms of mass convergence, then energy and reality. So there are three things. We have worth, we have reality, then we have energy. So I will go deep into, that 369 in order to unravel the mystery of the universe. So, but today, I just want to introduce you to that formula of everything, which is the unifier of quantum mechanics to classical mechanics. Now, quantum mechanics, as we all know, it's a kind of mechanics that is being characterized with probability. And that has created a big problem for science in general, because if science is actually based on fact, then by having quantum mechanics is more or less like a violation to that. So basically, we have the classical mechanics. That one is, it deals with deterministic results. We know when you throw ball, depending on how the ball is thrown, you can actually predict where the ball will land things like that. So basically, the the quantum system is quite different from the classical system, and that is why we have the divergence in the two systems, and that is why it is difficult for one to actually unify the two mechanics. But basically, in my research publication, I have unified quantum mechanics to classical mechanics. In fact, by applying that formula of everything, I was able to, see that divergence. You understand? But I must tell you that there is a point, more or less like the maximum and the minimum point, where there is spontaneous annihilation of suspended zero, because the divergence is being caused by suspended zeros. And now, by traveling through the zero right from the classical level down to the quantum level, then we're able to breach that divergence. Now, the thing is, even though reality is at the quantum level, the solution to that, the trajectory to that solution must come from the classical level. And that is why when you are, let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. If you're on Earth, the Earth will be flat because of your proximity to Earth, like you're on Earth as it is. But now, let's say you now travel into space such that you travel away from the Earth, and then you'll be able to see the full, shape of the Earth. With that, you can get to know that the Earth is, round and not flat. So that is like telling you that there must be a position you must be relativistically to an object for you to get the reality of that object, and that is what is actually happening in the universe. Now, I usually say that there is a point where experience is delusional of reality, and that is found at quantum level. And there is a point where observation is delusional of reality, that is found at classical level. So what do I mean by that? So now let's quickly go deep into that. For instance, if you have an object approaching the event horizon, so to external observer, that object will get to a point at that event horizon, the object will be static to that external observer. Now, what that observer is observing at that quantum level is delusional of reality, in the sense that the object at that event horizon will not experience any form of delay, let alone to even experience any stoppage. You understand? So the object will transit into the black hole smoothly. So now, at the quantum level, the observation of the external observer is actually delusional of reality at the quantum level. You understand? But when you look at it at classical level, it's a reality in its own sense. You understand? But now, that object travels straight into the black hole. So now, to the external observer, that kind of momentum is delusional to the external observer, which means that at classical level, that experience of the object is delusional. But basically, by applying formula of everything, I was able to get this fact about the unification. When you are so close to object, you might not be able to get the full reality of that object. When you are far apart from the object to a certain point, you'll be able to get the reality of that object. Then when you are far apart to an object to the point that the object is out of sight, that is another issue. Now, for you to reconnect to that object, the kind of trajectory, or rather, let me say, the kind of momentum that you must have to get that object at the appropriate instance, that momentum will have to be instant. And that is why it is difficult to measure light having one-way measurement. You understand? So light is being measured in two-way measurement because the momentum of light is not instant to get reality. You understand? So there are still so many things to talk about because there are so many things that I will have to unravel in this channel. So if you are joining me for the first time, what I'm talking about is I'm trying to introduce you to Formula of Everything. It's a novel scientific discovery, and it's a unifier of quantum mechanics to classical mechanics. So do well to subscribe, do well to follow me, because there is still going to be more to discuss in this channel. Now, this particular image that you are looking at, there we're going to go deep into the brief derivation of formula of everything. Now, before we go deep into that, there is something called the large number hypothesis that was discovered or developed by Paul Dirac. Now, it is this same Paul Dirac that actually discovered the antimatter, and so we know we have Paul matrices. You understand? So, but by discovering that antimatter, he discovered a gap in between, and so we say we have Dirac C, which is having a negative energy state, and it is not so ideal to have negative energy state. You understand? So Dirac said, for him to explain that, he said that there could be a kind of radiation that will lead to a hole in the state of the sea of electrons that he realized. You understand? So by having that hole, that will make the electron to act as positron, and by having that, then we can have transition of electrons at the upper level into the lower level. You understand? So basically that solved the hole, because there is this Pauli exclusion that must be satisfied by all fermions, like all fermion particles. You understand? So with that explanation, then we know that there could be a kind of transition from the upper region and the lower region of what is matrices discovered. So now Paul Dirac, with that large number hypothesis, he got 2.27 times 10 raised power 39 as his value. But the issue is that he couldn't just connect that large number to the quantum small number, to a corresponding quantum tiny number. That is where the issue is. Now, using another method entirely, I was able to get 2.5. I was able to get 2.5 times 10 raised power 39 as the constant speed of the universe. Now, at that point, at that constant speed, there is this exhaustion of energy, and so we have spontaneous annihilation of suspended zero, and that trajectory goes into the quantum level and even beyond, because there is more to discuss. The solution is not even at quantum level, it's even beyond. And then that is where we have the interlocking of dimensions. And by talking about interlocking of dimensions, it means that we have complex systems. So the solution is actually found in the complex, at the complex level of the universe. So that is going to be a discussion for another day anyways. But now there is this connection from the classical down to the quantum and even beyond in my own research publication in the solution. And so by having, say you have value of electron, you can get the corresponding classical value. And then when you use the classical value in the formula, you can as well get the quantum counterpart. But now the issue is the time trajectory is one-way traffic, unlike the two-way measure of light. So there we have suspension at the quantum level before it transits into the the complex level. So if you are traversing the territory two times, then it's going to keep on giving you a different value, which is dynamic value. So we'll explore that more, but for you to have idea of what I'm talking about, let's look at this brief derivation of the formula. So now I want to expand this so that we can all see this. Okay, so now right now you can see what I have here as the title, explaining FOE. Explaining how FOE solves all the mysteries of the universe. So FOE is just formula of everything. So now when you look at what we have up here, FOE, the formula is dt dm equal to capital M plus 4m. So now let me briefly explain that. The TDM is actually talking about the evolution of time per mass convergence or per mass decaying mechanism. So we could have, we could have recession of time when mass is being decayed, and then we can have evolution of time when we have mass formation. So that is that. But right inside it, we have linear solution, which is nested right inside the curvature of time and energy. I'm going to call it energy because mass convergence, mass formation is usually emergent. So it's a kind of emergent situation. So now the linear solution that we have there, that is what allows us to have this symmetric nature of the universe in form of dimension. So we could have the constant speed of gravity inversely related to constant speed of light. So the symmetric nature of the universe now stands as the dimensional structure of the universe. So there we have equilateral triangle, because the moment you have the trajectory of gravity, that constant speed of gravity, you must as well have the reaction of a constant speed of light. And then the point where there is link from the classical region down to the quantum region and even beyond, then we have that triangle being closed. So equilateral triangle is what we have right inside the curvature of time to energy. So that is what the formula is telling us. So now when you look at the capital UM, that stands for the strong conveying force. I call it strong conveying force because The 4m, which is weak conveying force, will be suspended to that strong conveying force, and we have that suspension at classical level, and that is where the energy of suspension is being weakened, and so we have the mass convergence right at the edge, and that will actually result to curvature, and basically we're going to have this instant annihilation of zeros to traverse in order to bridge that divergence between the quantum and classical mechanics. So that is that. So now, brief derivation. For me to actually track the relationship between time, mass, and energy, I have to use chain rule. So chain rule can give me that power. So I have the T, the M, right under the brief derivation of FOE, equal to the T, the E, times the E, the M. So with that, I can actually, include the three relationships of time, energy, and mass in the formula. So now right here, I have T equal to E raised power 2 for T is the function of E, where E equal, so I have E to be M raised power 2 plus 1. And then I say therefore E equal to, because E is going to serve as function of, so let me say that E is the function of energy, and then energy will serve as the function of gravity, mass convergence, or gravity. So I call it GM. So thus T will now be E raised power 2, and so the value will now be equal to, in bracket, M raised power 2 plus 1. Then I have it being squared like that. So now the T, the E is going to be 2E. When you derive the T, the E, you have 2E. When you now derive the E, the M, you're going to have 2M. So by chain rule, you're going to have 2E times 2M equal to 4EM. So when you multiply it like that, we're going to have that. So now by having that, then the T, the M equal to, 4, I open bracket, M raised power 2 plus 1, close the bracket, then have M outside. So when I open the bracket, I'm going to have 4M raised power 2 plus 4M. There, 4M raised power 2 stands for strong nuclear force, while the 4M stands for weak nuclear force. You can now see how I'm like trying to get all the 4 fundamental forces of the universe together in this formula. So that is more or less like the placeholder for strong nuclear force and weak nuclear force. So now, using 4EM of the 4 open bracket M raised power 2 plus 1 close bracket M placeholder, then T as T equal to E raised power 2, for T equal to, function of energy, where, E equal to M dot C raised power 2. So I'm like trying to integrate, the special relativity equation, which is where you have E equal to M times C raised power 2. So that's what I'm trying to do right there. So now this is the M equal to 4EM. So when I expand that using the placeholder, then I'm going to have 4 open bracket, then half square bracket M times C raised power 2, then square the close square bracket plus 1, close the bracket, then M. By having this, then I now have this region 4 open bracket square bracket M times C raised power 2 raised power 2 when the square bracket is closed. That now stands for the integration of electromagnetic force. That is the integration of electromagnetic force. Now, everything altogether is now integration of gravitational force. So everything all together. So now you can see that all the four fundamental forces are being integrated in this particular formula. So we have the strong nuclear force, weak nuclear force, then there is electromagnetic force and gravitational force. So before, it is difficult for us to have this kind of merging. So by having this formula of everything, we now have everything in one place. So now, by now using the speed of sun's gravitational force, because the speed of sun's gravitational force will serve as generic, gravitational force for all the heavenly bodies around the sun, and that is why I'm using that. So I use that, and that is 274 value that we have there. Then I'm going to use that the sun's gravitational force as the worth of m, which is mass. I'm not using mass because after the whole derivation, we're still going to have m that we can usually substitute for mass worth of what we want to solve. And so now we have speed of light. So we have the speed of light there, right there, 3.00 times 10 raised power 8 close bracket square. Then I close the square bracket to square that plus 1, then close the bracket, then have m outside. So when the brackets are being opened, and then when I solve this whole thing, then I have dt dm equal to 2.5 times 10 raised power 39 m plus 4m. So the 2.5 times 10 raised power 39, that is the constant speed of the universe. So in the large number hypothesis of the rack, it got 2.27 times 10 raised to power 39. So I can substitute capital U for that 2.5 times 10 raised power 39 to now have formula of everything to be dt dm capital Um plus 4m. So now that is the final derivation, and that is what is called formula of everything. That is what I just want to introduce to you today. So I will still have more. I'm still going to have more more live videos where I will explain more things. So I'll be talking about science in general. I'll be talking about physics. I'll be talking about things that you do not know, that you need to know. In fact, everybody has to be a scientist. Like, everybody ought to become a scientist. So we need to know what is, or rather, let me say, we need to know things that are happening around us. Now, we're going into the era of AI. AI is not like a tool in our hand, unlike computer that we can use as we like, because AI is an autonomous agent. It's a new system entirely because it has agency. And so AI is very useful, but at the same time, we need to be very cautious of what we do. So everybody ought to become a scientist. We need to know what, things that are happening around us. So we need to be at alert. And so now this channel is going to help us to know more. But basically, this novel research discovery, I will be talking more about this because it's my work, you understand. So I have research publication of it on ijser.org. It's a peer-reviewed journal, you understand. You can get there to get this, to get the publication free of charge. You can download it and work on it and explore the formula more. So now, unlike before that, we do not have a mathematical formalism for the unification of quantum mechanics to classical mechanics. Right now we have it, and so it is falsifiable, it is testable. So I explore all the scientists all over the world. In fact, many scientists have been Many scientists have been working, many scientists have been working on what is it called, on my research publication already. So in fact, there is a particular experimental physicist in US on a fractal experiment that I gave a value to, and he was so shocked after conducting a particular experiment. He was so shocked to discover, things he discovered. And so basically, it is out there for people to explore and to get more reality about the universe. So now I want you to inform your friend. Like, I have people joining this live, you understand, but I still need more people to join to be aware of this so that they can get to know reality of the universe. So I need you to inform your friend, share this, let people know of this channel, let them follow and subscribe to me. Here we're going to dive deep into the reality of the universe, and it's going to be a great fun. So thank you. Today I have just introduced you to the derivation of formula of everything. So I will talk more extensively on that formula, and then I'll talk more about science in general. So thank you for joining me on this one. I will always have this live video, and I want more people to join. So please, for those of you that joined today, please discuss this with other people. Let them as well join so that we can together progress and get to know more about our universe and even ourselves. There is a lot of things to discuss. I keep on saying this because I know what I've discovered. I know what that formula of everything has unraveled, and so this is just an introduction to it. So now, thank you, God bless you. So